The huge fallout from Rishi Sunak's comment about Sir Keir Starmer refusing to say what a woman is that has caused a huge storm. And what I'm asking this afternoon is this: did the Labour Party leader break parliamentary rules during PMQs? Before that, here's a reminder of how it's all unfolded yesterday lunchtime.
Mr. Speaker, this week the unwavering bravery of Brianna Jay's mother, Esther, has touched us all. As a father, I can't even imagine the pain that she's going through, and I'm glad that she's with us in the gallery here today.
Defining a woman, although in fairness that was only 99% of a U-turn. The list goes on, but the theme is the same, Mr. Speaker. It's empty words, broken promises, and absolutely no plan.
Of all the weeks to say that, when Brianna's mother is in this chamber, shame, parading as a man of integrity when he's got absolutely no responsibility.
Well, it all kicked off and it's still rumbling on. Apologies being demanded left, right and centre from the Labour Party and the media. But of course, Rishi hasn't apologised. And to discuss whether Sir Keir Starmer broke the rules, I'm now joined by the barrister and writer, Stephen Barrett. Stephen, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure. We're talking about this, Stephen, of course, because you were very quick to point out last night, as you often are, that there may have been a breach of Commons protocol by Sir Keir Starmer. Can you set out what you mean by that?
Yes, I mean, so quick that I made an error and accidentally posted the rules for the House of Lords first. But even that is informative, because we've had a long-standing constitutional rule that you don't mention who's in the public gallery, and you don't grandstand, and you don't do anything dramatic about it. The House of Lords has protected that rule completely. The House of Lords has a very simple rule, a really simple, workable rule. The House of Commons has modified it, and to the extent that one of the MPs tweeted me to say that they'd repealed it. Now, they haven't repealed it. They still have this rule, but they have modified it. They've said that you can mention somebody in the public gallery, but you must not do so in order to intimidate people. Now, what Keir Starmer did was mention the Prime Minister's quote, but what he said. Then he raised the person in the public gallery, so he's done that, and then he attacked the Prime Minister's integrity. And he pointed and he said, shame. Now, I don't know about you, but nobody has ever pointed at me and cried the word shame without an intention to intimidate. It's not really a friendly thing to do. Very few of my friends have done it. It doesn't really happen down the pub. If somebody points at you, says that you have no integrity and shames you in public, then I think that that is an attack upon your integrity. And that is a breach of the parliamentary rules. The Speaker of the House of Commons did nothing. Now, there are many reasons why that may be. One of my pet bugbears is that we've made laws fat and flabby, and as a result, we don't really understand them. And because we don't really understand them, we can't really enforce them. So it may simply be that that's going on. When that MP tweeted me that the rule had been repealed, he probably did so in all good conscience, believing that the rule had been repealed. Because they mention them now so often that they may well have just forgotten that they have rules. When they're made an MP, they're given a copy of all these rules. But how many of them read them? And, you know, in all honesty, are the rules being applied? This looks to me like a very serious rule breach by Keir Starmer to try and publicly shame his political opponent, which is not allowed, for good reason. Political debate in this country cannot descend to the level of shame-mongering.
And Stephen, the rules you refer to, they're called the Rules of Behaviour and Courtesies in the House of Commons, and it's point 29. Anybody can go and look at this right now. Specifically states it must not be phrased in a certain way that might intimidate or seek to influence the debate, which it clearly has, because it's moved the debate on into a huge public shaming around trans issues. But Stephen, a broader point I'd like to raise is, are we looking down the thin end of a wedge here of potentially the gallery being weaponised? Now, we've seen this as an effective way of shaming people around issues who'd rule out, for example, a Labour Party MP welcoming somebody into the gallery who'd lost a relative in Palestine and referring to that. Could we see the unsavoury protocol of the gallery being weaponised specifically to cause harm?
Well, this is what you get when you get rules collapse. Okay? Once a human society gets into a position where rules can't be enforced, you go to mob rule, you go to shaming, you go to deep emotional control and emotional manipulation. And there are people out there who will emotionally manipulate you. I mean, your viewers will know that there's an entire fraud industry largely based upon the concept of emotional manipulation. So it goes on all the time. We used to have rules to protect us from this. And clear and simple rules which are enforced are how you stop mob rule. If you don't do that, you will get mob rule. And everybody who thinks that they're in charge of mob rule, the guy pointing and crying shame, it comes back to bite you in the end. Every time this has happened throughout history, Savonarola famously did it in Italy, and he liked burning people alive with shame. Well, he ended up burnt alive. That's what happened. So either we restore clear, simple rules, and the House of Commons becomes a rules-based place again, because of course it isn't. It had its kangaroo court, and it's got a bad relationship with rules. Either it restores its reputation and relationship with rules, or it's going to descend into this sort of shaming and mob rule.
And Stephen, it's worth pointing out that Rishi Sunak has been criticised with people within his own party as well. Penny Mordaunt was saying he's taken time to reflect and was intimating that maybe he should apologise. But very quickly, if we could, Stephen, do you think Sir Keir Starmer should apologise, and do you think he will?
What I will do, Martin, with your hopefully with your agreement and willing indulgence, is not express a view on whether or not he should apologise, because that is a personal political opinion. And I apply a rule to myself, a clear, simple rule, that I don't express those. And I am not going to say whether the Prime Minister should or shouldn't apologise. I'm not going to join the shame peddlers. That's not what I do. So I'm going to stay with the rules and with the rule of law.
OK, that's why we get you on the show. Apolitical, to the point. Stephen Barrett, excellent. Thank you very much for joining us on GB News. Certainly food for thought.